Hello everyone, my name is Miikka, and today we'll be taking a look at Kaamos, the roguelike game developed by us, Pepperbox Studios. Like I said, my name is Miikka, I'm the CEO of the company. With me I have Elias and Santtu. Elias, do you mind introducing yourself?
Hi, Elias. I met Miikka, our last job. When we got kicked out, we decided to form a company together, and I've been developing Kaamos for about 8 months for now. Been a pretty wild ride. My job is to do the graphics, most of the programming, as well as the game design part of it.
Yep, and my name is Santtu, and I've been friends with Miikka for quite a long time. And I'm basically doing music stuff and everything that I basically am good at. And I'm Finnish, but currently pretty interesting because of the time difference. So basically now it's 6 o'clock here and probably 10 o'clock in Finland. So yeah, pretty good. Are we ready to start the game?
Yeah, go ahead and start the game.
Okay. I'll just skip the tutorial this time, so straight to the business. All these are locked. So I'll just pick my usual warrior and begin my journey.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I wanted to ask, what was the inspiration behind this game? Like, I know where we started from. Like, we had a bunch of ideas for different games, but what specifically, Elias, made you to was there some specific game that was behind the inspiration for this specific game?
I think at the beginning, when we were in the concepting phase, I was taking inspiration from Nintendo DS games that I played. So, Wee Lad, and one of the games was Puzzle Chronicles. And it's about sort of Tetris duel, where one Tetris screen on one side and other on the other, and you kind of have to fight duels with puzzle mechanics with some time pressure put in the mix. So I started doing little concepts of what if we could do that, but better. And eventually we reached the Tetris idea that kept the dueling part, combined it with another mechanic from a childhood game of mine called Puzzle by Copycat Games, and it's where that looping grid mechanic with match 3 mechanic comes from. And then we just kind of combined that with the dueling aspect, games like Griftlands, etc. Or any classic fighting RPG, basically.
Yeah. Well, actually, could you maybe give us a little bit of an intro what this game is about?
Yeah, this game is a puzzle roguelike set in a medieval world where the sun has disappeared, and you are journey to find out why and try to survive as long as you can. And the puzzle aspect of the game comes from the battles being turn-based strategy, where you can see the information of what
it's actually pretty interesting. I now know what the other guy is doing, so if you're wondering how I'm planning my moves here.
Yeah, exactly, that's a big part of the puzzle aspect of the game. The player has full information of what the enemy is going to do, and so they can respond to that. Every turn in a battle is like a randomly generated puzzle solve. There is no perfect solution most of the time, but a bunch of different solutions that work in different situations. What the enemy is doing.
Yeah.
That's the core aspect of it.
Yeah. What's happening now on the screen?
I actually just smashed that dude, and now I'm taking his stuff.
And this is another large aspect of the game, looting equipment from enemies, and in a sense, this gives this game a sort of deck building aspect because you are kind of adding these tiles to your tile deck that will then be shuffled onto your tile grid battles. So what equipment you pick plays a major role in the game, how you progress, how you approach different situations. Like different equipment gives different types of tiles. So for example, armor tiles, like they do a different thing, serve a different purpose than dodge tile. And
That's
currently
pretty
we have
cool.
4 tile types. We have attack tiles,
Yeah.
dodge tiles, defense tiles, armor, each offering a little bit different strategy. And you are free to mix and match. For example, there are characters that are supposed to be played with a generalist tile deck, where a little bit of everything, while other characters are focusing heavily on one tile color.
Yeah. Can you explain what the different tile colors actually do?
Yeah, so basically attack tiles, actually you can kind of, one of the side points this is that if you want to know something in this game, you can basically hover your mouse over it. So if you can hover your mouse over the attack icon of the enemy,
Ooh.
then you can actually see what it means. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Just here.
so you can see basically everything. There's full information for the player about what every mechanic of the game does. But basically attack tiles are your means of dealing damage to the enemy as well as the enemies damage to you. So you make combos of red tiles and you get attacks. And if you make multiple combos, you get multiple attacks. If your weapon can do multiple attacks, because that's the another layer that comes into play with equipment, is that they give your stats, and those stats can limit or improve your combos and what they do. So for example, that's a combo of 3 red tiles, but he did 5 damage. That was because the weapon 1 bonus damage and then the character's special ability added.
Yeah.
And this is how you find the special ability, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we don't see the mouse cursor, but so what you're doing right
okay.
now is hovering the mouse over the player character, which shows the tooltip.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
And
so now he's defending.
Yeah.
And then there's defense tiles, which is like the second most common tile type. It's very basic. You make combos of them, and they will give you blocking power for that turn. And when your character's turn starts, they are flushed. So any remaining defense it's gone. So it's temporary defense, but you get quite a bit of it. So it's easy to block singular large attacks with it. And it's generally just very useful.
Yeah.
Then there's armor, which fills up the blue bar that the enemy has is itself right now. And armor, unlike defense, it persists in turns, so it's pretty useful in that regard. However, armor tiles are a bit more rare. The armor is limited by the character's max armor stat. So that means it, for example, Santu here can't get any more armor because it's already full one. And have any armor.
Yeah. What defines the maximum armor of the character?
It's the maximum armor is the combination of the max armor stats of all the characters' armor that's born. So if you open the inventory, what has.
Yeah, Santo, can you open the inventory for us real quick? Show it.
Sure.
And here you'll hover over every, there's explanation for every stat and tile, and every item has their stats displayed. They do.
So basically, this is the axe that I found from the other guy.
So yeah, on the right side of the item inspection view, you can see how many tiles it gives to each color. So this leather vest or this that ring doesn't give any, but this leather vest is one tile.
So. And I also see like a level.
Yeah.
Of each item.
Yeah, the Roman
so
numeral in the
example,
top right corner of the item inspection was level or tier.
That's pretty handy as well.
Yeah, it gives you a rough estimate of how good the item is. Of course, sometimes a lower tier item might be better for your specific playstyle or tile deck. There's no right. Generally, your tier items are better.
For some reason, I had this pretty good necklace from the start.
It's the character starting special item. Can't get one. That's why it's level 4.
Alrighty, back to the fight.
Yeah.
So what is he doing?
One of the core principles, Elias, for you has been like the full information in combat. Can you talk about the inspiration behind this? What decided you to want to give players full information during the game? Why is it important?
When I play games, I really like to make informed decisions. Like that's just how I am as a person as well. Really like having all the knowledge available to me. Informed decisions about things that are well considered. And this aspect comes from games like, I think some of you know it, a game called Into the Breach. It's also sort of a puzzle roguelike in a sense, with a little bit more tactics involved. In that game, the gameplay heavily centers around knowing exactly what the enemies are doing, in what order. That gives you a very interesting tactical game of like, how do I approach this particular situation? Knowledge that I have. How can I use the enemy's actions against them? And to me, that's very fascinating. I wanted to do this game as well. Because one of my core design principles when I'm designing games is I want to make games that I would like to play myself. That's where the
let me see. Santtu, can you maybe describe a little bit about? So you're the one who made music for the game. Was there any specific maybe inspiration or idea?
It's been actually a pretty interesting thing because I have pretty long background with music, and but I've never done game music, so that was a bit different what I'm used to. So it took some time to realize how things work, although it's pretty much the same thing but maybe in different form, especially with this one when we wanted to have more retro or 8-bit music, so kind of learning how that works and everything. And of course it's been pretty interesting since all my instruments and stuff like that are in Finland, since I'm now in Australia. And so I've been basically just using my cheap acoustic guitar and laptop, and so it's been a journey, I would say. But very interesting journey. It's very challenging at the same time, but also I feel like it's been very rewarding.
Yeah.
And I'm actually really looking forward doing more stuff like this, because I'm really keen to learn different aspects of music as well at the same time, so that's one way to do it.
Yep. And there's been a lot of back and forth between me and Santtu. I've also learned about the process behind making music a lot, even though I'm not a composer or music person myself. It's interesting to see what needs to be taken into account for music to be put into a game, because it's not just the music that's in the game. The music needs a technical system to play it, work within the game. So trying to like get music that fits into the technical system or adapt the technical system to work with the music that you get is like really interesting back and forth dynamic that some.
Yeah. Can you actually expand a little bit on that? So what I know, one of the big not issues but challenges has been to like specifically create music pieces that are specific length, so they fit into the system. Can you talk
like
a little bit
from the
about that?
technical aspect, I think Santu can tell more about the music a little bit sooner. I think the technical challenge there is that we have a dynamic music system where we have a map music and a combat, and they change smoothly between one another without like missing a beat. So that's been like really challenging because that requires basically the both combat and map explore tracks to be exactly the same length and have exactly the same speed and notes at the same time.
Yeah, so basically the idea was to have two different tracks that basically you can play all together. And that's been a bit tricky sometimes, like because you want to have some variation in the songs as well, but when it needs to match with other track as well. So that's been a bit tricky sometimes, but like I'm pretty happy with the results like the end product we got. It just takes some extra time to understand and try different things, but yeah, I'm really happy that we decided to do it like this. I really think it fits the game and makes it more interesting, even though it was a bit like hard time to time, but yeah.
Basically you've had to compose two set tracks at the same time.
Yeah.
But in regards of boss music, those don't have to adhere to the dynamic music system because they are like special moments in the gameplay. Santu has been able to go absolutely wild with them, and we've been really glad to see like people vibing to the boss music and just like I think one streamer was like he said that he can't focus on the fight because the music was so good.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's like pretty good example when you take all the limits and like walls away from your work, like and just let your like creations flow and then I feel like things are much more interesting when you don't have any limits. So that's why I said earlier that it was a bit tricky to produce these fighting tracks and map tracks, because we had certain things that they need to have and how they need to work. But when we managed to figure out like the boss music that I don't need to like follow these rules anymore, then you probably will hear it when the boss music comes, that it's really like flying.
In regards to like, I have a bit different opinion on creative freedom, etc. Or limitations. Right? I think some limitations are good to have to not like if you have no limitations, then it might be hard to decide what to do because you do everything. So in that regard, I think it has really helped the creative process that we have. For example, we set the style to 8-bit music or this school vibe, because that it gives some limitations to the music, and you already know I can't do this, but this means that this, and that also applies to game design as well. Like one of the things that I had a lot of fun with was designing like the combat dynamics, game, all of the numbers, I like to call them small number systems. It's like all the numbers are below 10. They're very small, and this is really nice. Like it gave me a hard time balancing the game because when numbers are so small, a jump from 2 to 3 damage is very large, comparatively speaking. But it also means that like small numbers are really useful for things like quickly understanding the situation, quick maths in your head and see can the enemy defend attack, how much damage and deal, which might be a lot harder to do like those calculations in your head if the weapon does like 1,000 or. But yeah, in regards of the creative process as well, it gave me some limitations and a hard time balancing the things, but it also meant that I could like explore different like ways to balance the game, don't rely on numbers. Like how a weapon does multiple attacks or benefit from character special abilities better than other weapons. Those sort of small things that are not evident, their stats. That's, I think, interesting as games in general.
Ooh, travel boots.
Yeah.
I need these ones. Thank you.
Yeah, fresh pair of boots.
There's something happening now. There's yellow chapel, I think.
Oh, wonder what that might be. About to find
There's a
out
one
soon.
stop before that.
So we might have things happening on the screen soon. I don't wanna bother you with like new new questions at the moment. But when we arrive at the boss, maybe you could talk about a little bit about how the bosses have been made, because they're very different from the actual like not your typical enemies.
Yeah, and you're also going to hear the amazing song.
Yeah, and it's actually pretty interesting. Like, not all these places have enemies, so like I first thought, but now I basically just went to this forest place and found a ring, so I didn't have to fight. So it's pretty nice that you never know what's waiting for you. Even, well, now that feels a bit scary, but like you never know. You might just find a ring or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it's nice to have like these quiet moments of exploration because they highlight the bleak world of Kaamos. Well, and that's something people have been praising the game, which I like, is the vibe of the bleak world. Miserable everything is and dark.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the game is basically like I had a tutorial window because people were skipping reading boss's special ability. So how bosses differ from the regular enemies is, whereas regular enemies have randomized attack turn, bosses don't. They follow a strict attack pattern, and they have their own special abilities, like the player has. That icon on top of the boss's head, right there, but white cross, that's the special ability of the boss. And most of the bosses require them to read what the special ability does, or at least like understand it by experiencing it attack. And some bosses will absolutely wreck you if you don't read it, especially the second one. Last one. But yeah. And the nice thing, as I said earlier, is that you can always hover over everything. Understand something?
Something I want to do. Yeah.
Also, it's so hard for me backseat game this because I've been programming the entire game I've done most of the coding, testing coding, so I am really good at the game right now. I think I'm probably the best Kaamos player there is at the moment, but I hope to see players will surpass me perhaps one day. Because that's the thing, as a developer, I might be blind to some strategies and wild things players might do. Like there's that one experience where me and Mika were doing some QA testing for the game, and Mika absolutely broke the balance by dual wielding some axes with the berserker. And that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
On
So-
some defense.
Now we can also hear the boss music. I believe this is the latest boss track we've made.
Yes, this is like the latest addition. This is not in the demo. Not sure if I added it there, but they're boss coming the full version.
Santu, can you maybe talk a little bit about the process of making music? So where you have you need to make a track for a boss fight. So where do you begin, and how do you start iterating on it?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, so basically everything starts with my acoustic guitar usually. And I'm jamming some tracks or like songs and try to find some nice patterns that sounds good first, and then it's easier to kind of like find the leads and everything on top of that. So basically starting everything with my acoustic guitar and with my old Guitar Pro software, which is very handy for like handling MIDI files and like putting stuff up. And yeah, it's a pretty like long process actually. After that, once I finish the MIDI file, I'll go to Reaper. So basically like another music software where I can handle all the tracks all together and then use different plugins and edit those and do basically all the magic tricks. So yeah, and then there's like 15-20 times we go through the track and there's something we need to fix and something we need to put back and go basically back and forward. And yeah, there's a lot of work to do usually, but usually I feel like it's the best result is the one that comes with like other people. So when there's other people's opinions as well, and I kind of mix those with my own, then I usually find them more better than just my own.
Yeah, I can agree on that in regards to like game mechanics as well. I think many mechanics of the game become better thanks to edition, player testers, and others.
Yeah, well, there's also, of course, there's times when I trust myself the most. Like, I know I want this thing to be there and this thing to be like this. Otherwise, it's not. Because it's usually not just one part. It's a part that also like depends what's coming after that. So with some things, I'm also very strict that I want these things to be on their places. But like, I'm really happy that we do some changes together. Usually that gives us a better results as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's oh, what is this actually?
Might be a good time
mystery.
to talk about the world and story of the game.
Let's see. But yeah, it's been interesting to see how big part the music actually is. Like when I promised to do all the musics for this game, I kind of thought it's pretty easy, quick process, and it's just something in the background that makes the game like a bit fancier. But actually, like I've been surprised how many people talk about the music in the game, and like how much good like feedback we got to have like this music system, and also, oh boy, something's burning. Okay.
This
Whatever
is
it
where the demo
was,
would have
it is
ended.
gone.
Yeah,
I'll
this is
just
where the
leave
demo
that.
would have ended.
Oh,
Demo
okay.
version, so.
Yeah. Oh, before we jump into the world and the story, I also want to ask you a similar question, Elias. You are also the person who has made the graphics in the game, and there's been lots of good feedback how the game looks, and you already talked about the vibe. So how do you start from, like, because the game used to look very different, early versions. So
Oh, yeah.
how do you go from like whatever it was to whatever it is now?
Like, I started my process of creating these sprites, and well, not even creating sprites, like trying to find out what style would fit the game. So, process started from me basically writing down what we would like to have, and those were something that would be able to produce dozens of different equipment items with relative ease, and then be able to combine them with a random generator or characters that are random generated. All the enemies in the game are procedurally generated from different equipment items. We actually calculated how many different visually distinct enemies the game can have, and it's on the magnitude of hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, I believe the number 680 something thousand.
Yeah. And that doesn't even take into account the items that the player can't see the enemies.
Mm.
With those included, it's like 1.8 or 1 billion.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to the artwork. So, like, those were my two definitions for the art style of the game. And that means, and because I can do pixel art myself, I enjoy doing it. So the decision was that we should the art of the game with pixel art style. And then it was just about the matter of finding first the resolutions of the sprites, like what's the scope is not the right word, but like what's the viewport size. And that kind of, even before I touched the character sprites at all, I tried to like find resolution scale really well onto different screen sizes and resolutions without breaking the pixel scale, because that's something that's really important to me. If pixels are on the screen, I don't want half pixels. I want pixels to be full. The pixel art to be crisp. There be no blurry lines. That was my thing. Why I want to find out the specific. And after I had done that, I could find out, okay, with this much screen space to update, here's how many pixels is this in height. Then from there on, I went ahead and started trying out different concepts for the character art style. We had a really like detailed art style with many colors and thing. Decided immediately was going to be way too much work done, because and the palette would have been messy as well. I wanted something simple, just like it's colors plus black. So we continued iterating. I started with stick figures and eventually ended with characters that were just outlines of characters with single color. And then from then on, I basically decided, hey, I just also like, in addition to shape, I would like to have some pattern. Like, you see his armor, he has these little dots there to signify rivets. Then I just filled the color of the armor, and now we have this sort of style where it's single color with some black in the middle. And of course, the hands and legs, they are darker colors so that they pop out from the character, or there's a high contrast. And weapons and shields are also very high contrast colors because they are this distinct feature of the character. Decide the way that is going. For example, here you see the enemy is dual wielding 2 sabers, so it's going to be with multiple attacks.
Now I also have these armor tiles here, since I got new armor, which gave me new tiles. So
yeah, but your armor is full at the moment, so you can't.
yeah, no, good idea to use it now. I'll just probably try to hit him. Oh, he hit me twice.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about the world and story a little bit. So we saw a mysterious encounter previously. Without spoiling too much, the game is based in a world where suddenly the world went dark and nobody really knows why. And the player starts to investigate why this happened. Can you maybe talk a little bit about the story and the world? It seems like which take us by surprise that it's really been received well. It wasn't like really one of the like core pillars behind the game.
Yeah, like when we like wanted to find like originally we decided we are not going to have much of a story, just have some lore. But as we kept iterating on the concept, taking inspiration from games like Blue Hero, I've said it's clear that this game has the same vibes does. I play Hero myself. So the story wasn't that important to us originally, but as we kept iterating the concepts, we started like finding this really interesting. What if some of this, and how would this world work? What would happen to the people? It's not just the darkness. There's something also. People are going mad for everyone's out to kill you on sight.
And I feel it's pretty interesting.
You can find the answer in the game.
Yeah, and like I feel it's pretty interesting how like if you think about the name of the game, could you tell a little bit about that as well?
Oh yeah, like naming of the game is really like dear to us because we are a Finnish game studio. Wanted to do something to resonate with or show the Finnish heritage of the game, and that's where the name comes from. Kaamos is a Finnish word which means polar night or a bit of darkness at the sun. That's basically the things about. The sun is gone. The sun is gone, and you are in the sunless world. So it's Kaamos.
And that's pretty interesting because like a couple months back I went to Brisbane to showcase this game, and they were very curious about the name because of course in English it's actually like pretty hard to even pronounce. So, but that also made a lot of questions like what is it, what it means, and it also gave me like a chance to tell a little bit of our background, our Finnish background, how the winters are very dark, we don't have sun, and I hope that we were able to kind of implement that to the game, because here in Australia we see sun. It's basically like a summer all the time for me, but in Finland, when it gets dark, it really changes people how they feel and like how they act. So I hope that we managed to put a little bit of that Finnish darkness in this game as well.
Yeah. And one more thing about the like technical aspect of the story, boring. Some people might find it interesting, I've included, is that the story in a roguelike game is kind of difficult to tell, because one staple of roguelikes is that map is always randomized run. So you can't really have, like, it would get really boring if the story was always the same time through the map. So what we did is a like dynamic text randomizer that picks different dialogue options for every map location, and then plays a random bit of lore before the start. So after the, of course, the main like story arc points, they are still static. They have to be work, but those are counter them in the.
And yeah, very important thing. I feel like people are asking how to pronounce Kaamos. It's especially like I said in English, it doesn't fit to many people's mouth. But I tell you here now, it's Kaamos. So now you know, Kaamos.
Yeah. So we already talked about like maybe some of the parts that have been like, challenging throughout the development. But do you guys have any nice, fun, or cool stories or facts you could tell about the development process? Anything specific that comes to mind?
I'll have the. There are too many to pick from. It's going to be a weird one, but I really like the dynamic I've had with the game. Like, some days we just sit in a Discord call, throwing random ideas to each other, talking and players might receive. Then my perspective is always biased because I work so closely with games, so that I don't always see this as players might see. Which is good in a way that has its own challenges as well. Because it means like people can break the game in very interesting ways. I said earlier that one time I was breaking the balance of the game by dual wield Berserker, and that was a really eye-opening and fun experience. But
and yeah, as you can see now, the game changed quite a lot when I found my new axe and helmet and shield. Now my tile is basically full of stuff. Like when I started this journey, I only had like 2 different colors of blocks and just randomly here and there. But now basically I only have 4 blank spots here. So this makes game like a bit different now.
Yeah.
Although I don't know, is it actually easier or harder? Because now I'm just like picking things faster, but actually I don't know if that's a good thing, because I'm not trying to find the best option. I'm just trying to look an option that looks pretty good. But that probably is not a good thing when we go to another boss fight, I assume.
Later on in the game, you are going to have like good moves automatically, but the challenge becomes more of finding the best move situation rather than best actual. And in regard, like, to return to the fun stories from the development, I think one of the like things I've enjoyed this project the most has definitely learning curve of like how to do a large game design. Everything that goes into that, it's been surprising. Like, work it is actually to make a game. Like it's not said for nothing that game dev is hard. It is.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to become a game dev, I highly recommend try to write a game design document and see behind the scenes. Like that's one other thing I've learned. Like when I've developed my own game, now I'm a lot more forgiving to indie devs and games I play. Like, oh, there's a bug there. Oh, just happens.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a bugless game.
Yeah, that is true. So, I think one of my last question is about we already went through the different challenges and maybe stories that we've had, but so since the demo is now out and we're closing on release, what has been the most rewarding things for you along this whole journey?
Learning things, seeing, suddenly appreciate your work. Great team around does the same. Tells me when I need to do things differently. I think I've learned so much from this journey that you can't even imagine. Not just the technical things like ways to or ways to draw pixel and sprites. It's also like the whole dynamic of game development. Also like player action. There's just so much to dig into. I can't just say surface wise it's going.
Yeah, and I think because so basically there's 6 of us at the moment, and we all have pretty much like different skill sets. So it's been very interesting journey how we actually like get all those skills in use. Like that's been also like a bit tricky sometimes, but like I feel that's been really rewarding. Like actually when we realized that we can do this thing like this, and like people have really good ideas, and I think we're very open with our ideas. So that's been I've been really enjoying that as well. Like if I have an idea, I can just bring it up and then we figure out is it good or not. Like, but I'm not afraid to like bring new stuff up all the time, because I'm usually like I have a lot of ideas with everything, and most of them are not that good usually. But you never know like what you end up doing when you have an idea and then another person basically have another idea that comes from that idea. So that's been very rewarding to me as well.
Yeah. And also like it's been really great to see the feedback from players. We had a lot of good discussions on Discord and Reddit, and had more recently even on TikTok. It's a bit surprising to me, but yeah, it really feels good to see good feedback and people excited for the game. It really makes it all worth it.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you guys have any final words before we wrap up? Shoutouts to mom, or
final words. Well, I hope people try this game, because it's surprisingly like super good. I'm really happy about it. Like I didn't expect. I expected the game to be good, but not as good as it is now. So and that we can also see that people are, when they're playing the demo, they're actually finishing the demo very often. So once people get into it, they actually usually play it quite a lot, which is really good sign. And
yeah, like that's been really interesting to me as well. Like people usually like they might take a look at this, and some people go immediately, I really dig that vibe, etc. But those people who like are kind of nah, it looks okay, and don't try it, they are kind of doing themselves a disservice, because the moment like this has been without exception, every player who has tried this game has got insanely addicted to it. And that's like a really fun thing to know, that like we just have to get people to play this game, and they will get like it's good. They will experience the whole thing. That like it's so hard to tell this mechanic in just images or videos. You have to experience it yourself to like see the magic.
Yeah, and I don't know, like if you're not into pixel art stuff, like if you rather play like more modern style games, I think you still should try this, because it's very addictive actually. Like you don't even realize once you like get hooked, because you just keep playing and playing, and that we had that issue in that Brisbane game showcase thing, that I didn't expect too many people to like play that much, but we actually had a problem that people didn't stop playing the game. We had a big queue waiting, and people just continued and continued, and like I was a bit stressed. Like, do I need to ask people to stop because the people were waiting, and like, so yeah. Once you should really try it and then make your decision, is it good or not, because even though if you don't like pixel art game, you probably will get hooked with this one.
Yeah. And I had the same kind of problem when I went to a dev gather. So same thing happened. We had people queuing up to play the game. See how interesting it was. Then when they got playing, we're not going to let go of the game that easily. Massive.
Yeah, that's always a good sign. Nice to see as a developer. So I guess we're pretty much done here. Go and try out the demo. Wishlist the game on Steam. It sounds like a broken record, but it really does help. It's really important for the success of the game.
Yeah, like one of the hardest things about game dev, it's not about making a great game. It's about like getting your game noticed. That's the hardest.
Yeah, there are quite a lot of good games on this platform. So yeah. So thank you everyone for watching, and this us signing out. Bye.
Yep.
Thank you.